Alright, so we were talking about what this piece might look like. So the part that connects into the flange. And so I've modeled this particular piece, a simplified version of that. So what we have is sort of a collar that will fit on the top of the cable here. And it's just a series of extrusions. Here's an extrusion that's a hex head. And it actually has a void in between, so I just made one hex head, pulled it through, and controlled the nut depth with a parameter here. Here's two washers that are controlled by these two washer depth parameters, and the offset is what the flange distance is going to be, so that would be where it bolts into the flange, right? Then this is like a collar, right, which is an extrusion just like we did for the cable. This goes into another collar, which is an extrusion that are being controlled by these lengths. This is actually a blend, so it's not an extrusion because it's not a straight. This actually has a top and a bottom with different diameters that connect these two. I'm not going to go through the whole creation process of this. If somebody's interested in doing it, I'll be happy to show you in class or lab. But if we look at the family types dialog box, this is what we've got. And it's actually fairly complex, but there's a lot going on, right? Because we have basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different modeling pieces in here that are all being controlled. And there are several formulas in here that, for example, allow the blend to always be the same size as this collar, and this side of the blend always the same size as that collar, right? And so there you have the blend 1 and blend 2 equal the collar radius, and then different types of things are being controlled. So what you can do is you can actually take this piece and nest it into another piece. So I'm going to go ahead and close this guy up. And here it is. This is that piece that has been nested into here. And it's been placed in here, and what I've done is I've locked it to this reference plane. So if I back up, there's our length with our tube on it. And this piece gets placed in and locked to this reference plane. So when we place it, it sits in the correct place. Now, one thing that you do need to do when you nest things is that you need to pass the parameters through if you want to have access to them. Again, I'm not going to go through this whole process, but if I pick this and I come up here and I go to type properties and I bring this guy over here, right, you can see that it's giving me all of these type properties. The ones that are grayed out are being controlled by formulas, so there's no way to control those other than by resetting these particular sizes. And you can see that those are taken. You can pass these blend and collar and all these parameters through by clicking on these boxes and either making a new parameter in this family and assigning a name to it, or assigning it to another parameter. I'm not going to do that right now, but I just wanted to show you that. So for example, the offset of 10.9, right, has been passed through, and I've made another parameter called offset because I do need to be able to control that in the family, because that's the distance of the flange or the offset between the nuts. So I'm going to hit cancel there. Now the name of this particular is cable working 2, and I'm going to load that into the project. So if I load that into the project, it brings it into this project, and if I go take a look at this particular cable that we made earlier, which is called cable working, or actually it's called cable working 25 millimeter. If I go to the pull down, we have cable working 2 25 millimeter, and if I select that and flip the 2 out, you'll see that it places that cable head on top, and we've got a few errors that are occurring here, and we'll go back and fix those. One is that we really need this guy to be placed up here, right? And so now that's placed up there. If I select this and go to edit type, I have control over that offset, which is set to 10.9. So if I say that's 12, click OK, it will open that up wider, right? But I don't really want to do that, so I'll Control Z until it's back. Now, we do have a gap occurring here, so there needs to be a lock, a constraint right here that we missed. So if I select this and right click on it and go to Edit Family, if I come in, you can see that that has a gap. So I can take that and I can pull it and lock it to that. And now if I load that into the project and overwrite the existing version, you'll see that it accommodates for that. So this is an example of a nested family, so a family within a family. This is a little bit more involved and it's not required for this project, but if you guys or any of you would like to learn how to do this, just come and get me and we'll talk about that process.